Hi, and welcome.
I'm Z.
And I'm Keith.
And we're going to tell you about the movie that we just watched. But first, a little bit of a heads up.
Some of the movies we watch deal with heavy subject matters.
In order to talk about these emotionally delicate things and the heavy subject matters that we sometimes cover, we add humor and crude language to add some levity and to process our own trauma.
If that doesn't feel fun or safe for you, we completely understand. Please take care of yourself first and foremost.
And we spoil the end of pretty much every movie that we watch.
Now you know. On with the show.
This is the right button, right? Yeah. Okay. Oh my God. So
Take two.
I made a decision on Thursday evening that I wanted to completely rearrange everything in my office and our living room.
Well, it's just the whole apartment.
Well, yeah.
You can't really redo one room without it impacting.
I didn't really touch the kitchen or our bedroom. So.
But just wait. It is a ripple effect.
So
it's a butterfly ripple domino.
So I moved everything is different now than it was before. Not that you don't even have to know what it looked like. It doesn't actually matter. But because everything is different, that means that our setup is different. And so usually, now this is going to sound like I'm making an excuse, and you're right, I am. But I don't care. Usually when I'm fucking with, because I press record, I do the actual recording of everything. I just push the little buttons. It's usually upside down, so I have like muscle memory of like which buttons to push. And because our new setup, the microphone is now, or the like box, whatever, the recorder is right side up instead of upside down, like for my vision, not like. And so instead of hitting record, I hit stop because it was inverted.
Their positions were inverted
and
relative to.
I did not know until at the very least a good half hour to 45 minutes of us just straight up chatting
riffing,
about
cracking
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And I was so upset that Keith had to fuck me. He had to take me into the bedroom.
Listen.
And he had to lay down.
For clarification, I did not initiate. That wasn't, I'm like, you know what, I'll fix this.
Yeah, he said, I'm going to go lay down and you can do whatever you want. And I said, bet.
I guess that's better. Sounds better.
He just laid down and I let sleeping dogs lie, you know? I let go the hogs of war, if you know what I mean. So then I said, do you want to record now that we're both done? And he said, let's wait till tomorrow. And so we waited till tomorrow. And now I have a migraine.
And I have gastric distress.
So this is going to be the spaciest episode you ever heard. We are in the gastric distress. That's such a good way to put it. That's so funny. I know it's accurate and it's biblical or whatever, but like
it's biblically accurate.
Yeah. It's like an angel or a biblically accurate angel. That's what's coming out of you.
Many eyes.
But it's just funny. Gastric distress sounds like something. It sounds like what it is. It's not a term I
can take seriously.
Right. It sounds like what it is, but also like nothing that anyone has actually experienced in their life. You know, you're like, no one's had that. No one said gastric distress, but that's like every morning in the McKinney McCobb household.
McFisto McCobb, please.
So sorry. I think McKinney is funny.
Fuck you.
Anyway, I did
At
my.
least I'm not descended from Nazis.
I haven't proven that yet. It's just my own assumption. I was thinking about that this morning because I saw a comedian that was like talking about being like biracial, and she was like, anyone else? And someone was like, yeah, and she was like, oh, cool. What are you like mixed with? And he was like, German and English. And she was like, so you're white? She was like, that's not. And I was thinking, I was like, yeah, like I like how my dad's side of the family is like, oh yeah, we're German and Irish, but we're barely German. There's no German. Like they will like go through like my aunt RIP went through and like did their entire like family history from like back when their family lived in Ireland, but she only traced like the Irish parts. She did not give a shit. She was like, here's all our Irish, and I'm like, oh, the family, there's something going on there. The German side, they're like, we're not really that German. I'm like, is that why we have a German last name? Because we're not that German?
Right.
Because we're barely German. That's why the German side is the the side that's stuck.
They changed it at Ellis Island from Schneider to Snyder.
They changed it at Ellis Island from McSnyder.
You told me
Snyder.
this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bullshit
Snyder
story.
Sea.
Oh.
That shit's a myth.
Yeah,
the
it's
Ellis
a myth.
Island?
Yeah, it's basically like the story is that
the
like
myth of
they
the intake people just making up names for people, right?
Right, yeah. Like you had to like the story goes like when people arrived to America, they had to like Americanize their name because they wouldn't be accepted into the country if they didn't like have like a more I don't know, whatever. But the actual records for Ellis Island, like they would what they got onto the bus with or the boat with what they got onto the boat with and what they left the boat with had to match.
Yeah, right.
So they were like, you know, who knows what people did, but it wasn't like it was nothing. There was no they had to change as soon as they got here. Like that's a complete myth that never happened. It's actually like whatever. Like if their name was something else before they got on the boat, that was their decision.
Possible, but they did that
they had
when they boarded.
Yeah, exactly. Their name is the same when they got on the boat as when they left the boat because it had to be.
Human error, of course, happens. People have agendas.
But people are always saying like, oh, when we got to Ellis, they misheard, and so they wrote this down. Yeah. And it's like that can't happen because where you're coming from was your name, then they didn't mishear, you know. And a lot of times they wrote down their own names.
Right.
You know, when they got on the, you know, it wasn't like something like, I don't know what this says. Like they were the ones that wrote it down. So anyway, yeah. I did my due diligence with researching
due diligence,
and I watched a bunch of videos of Martin Donovan being interviewed for the film he wrote and directed, Collaborator, in order to better understand Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
And what did you learn? About this movie.
That I would give that man free passes to my OnlyFans.
Wow, that's saying a lot.
I know. That's what I learned. No, actually, every time I see him talk
For
about
anyone new
stuff,
to the channel, just search ztitpics.co.uk.
and you'll see everything.
It'll take you to a link tree.
It'll take you to a link tree that will describe to you what I find attractive about Martin Donovan. Fucking link tree. Oh. Anyway, this is like one of those things where I'm like, I know that like I'm obsessed. I use quotes because even though it's true, it saying it as though it is true makes me feel bad. So I'm obsessed, quote unquote. But every time I read
It's a special
something,
interest.
yeah, it really is. Like anytime I read something about him or see an interview with him, he's always saying something. What the fuck? He's always saying something really fucking cool and shit. And I'm always like, oh man, I can't hate you.
Like,
I guess.
Make it 30.
Yeah, exactly. He's like shrimp and steak, shrimp and seafood. Oh wait, shrimp and seafood.
Shrimp, seafood, shellfish, mollusks, jellies,
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway.
steak, seafood, salad, breadsticks.
I'll snap his breadstick in half if you know what I mean.
No. What does that mean?
It means something about dick or something.
Is this about yeast?
I bet I could give him a yeast infection.
I'd leaven that.
A little leaven would leaveneth the whole loaf, if you know what I mean.
Leaven an elevator.
There's this fucking, your footprints shit that's up there. How it's
Yes.
got that like wooden,
Poem. Yes.
yeah, but it's like that specific style of like
Yes.
wood and like you put it. There was one of those in our bathroom. I don't know why, and it said a little leaven leaveneth the whole loaf, and I'm like, why? It's like a Bible
What?
quote. I think it's I don't know. Leaveneth the whole loaf.
King James. Bro, what are you
I
doing?
fucking love me some King James. That shit is so. He'll be like, it'll make cutting your baby's head off sound cool. It sounds like a poem.
Topical.
Fuck. Yeah.
And apparently a giant homo.
King James.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. Apparently a giant homo. He was just tall, Keith. You can say that. I'm just kidding. I don't know if he was.
For the time.
This is so sweet. I know that you get a little defensive over it, but that's so sweet. Your mom got that for you, right?
Yeah.
It's so sweet. It's a pillow and Keith displays it, which
I wouldn't say a display.
Keith, it's not hidden. It's in our living room. It says, a son brings joy that lasts forever. That's so fucking sweet. That's such a nice thing. That's so sweet. I love it. I love that you don't hide it under a bushel.
I kind of do.
But I mean, like, you don't put it in storage. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like, you haven't tacked it to the wall
yeah.
and with a neon sign pointing to it that says, Mama gave me this.
In a glass case. Next to my Annabelle. Hey, don't worry. A priest comes and pisses on it every month. Keeps it
moist.
Put a little shamrock on it. A talisman on the keep.
Anyway,
the staff from the head of the staff of Glenn Gaelic, whatever his name is.
Shelley, Gully, and Mercy.
Armin. I was saying amen. Weird.
Fucking, what does she say when she's, oh God, that's the funniest fucking thing in the whole world. Shelley, Gully, and Mercy.
Anywho.
Yeah, what were you saying? I'm so sorry.
The premise of this film is that
it's pretty straightforward.
Conchetta Tomei
yes.
inexplicably has a huge house and 5 children, is divorced, has a rich boyfriend who's taking her to Australia for the summer.
Taking her to Oz.
Christina Applegate's character Sue Ellen is the eldest.
Referred to as Swell.
And she's looking forward to
doing
whatever the fuck she wants all summer. She thinks she doesn't have to worry about the children or anything. All her friends are going to Europe. I guess mom was too stingy to pay for her.
That's what she said. They have the whole conversation in the like consignment shop or whatever.
Wait, I don't understand. So your mom can afford to go to Australia, but she can't afford to send you to Europe with some friends for graduation?
Yeah, aren't you pissed you can't go?
Her boyfriend's paying for it. He wants her to see his sheep ranch.
Ooh, wow. Besides, she needs the growing experience a lot more than I do.
She's leaving you guys all alone. What about the kids?
Kenny will watch Zach, Melissa will watch Walter, and I'll have Mom's car. I can go to the beach, I can stay out as late as I want to, I can do anything. I'm a free woman.
I'm going to say this. I actually think that feels like an actual conversation that could happen. You know, I mean, I don't think it would happen the day that the mom's leaving. I'm sure it would happen much longer before then. Much sooner before then. Sorry. Mucher sooner before then. There we go. But still. It felt like a conversation that, you know, where they're like, wait, I don't understand. She can't afford this, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like.
Not quite understanding the
Yeah. But, and making it like, whatever, like also explaining it in a way that like a kid would, so that you maybe aren't getting the whole story, but.
Right.
So that, you know, there's, you know, whatever. Yeah,
but,
my favorite.
Surprise.
Yeah, my favorite part is like. The
mom's walking out the door. Her shuttle, her airport shuttle is waiting for her when, surprise, the babysitter rolls up.
Fucking knocks on the door. and surprises them all. And they're all very shocked that they're getting babysat over the summer. And I'm like, okay, now I understand that the way that they display Conchetta Tomei, the way they display her character is like kind of ditzy a little bit and like maybe not forgetful, but like not great with like wrangling the kids, not great with making them do anything. Like the house is in disarray, like everything is just like whatever. Disarray. My friend Disarray. I keep saying like in relation to disarray, I keep saying the quote where Michael Scott in The Office wants to say that they were showing disrespect.
And he's going to go
and he's like,
deposition.
My friend Disray got new specs. And he's like, you know that he was saying disrespect, not disarray. And I'm like, I know. I just think it's funny. Anyway, like, I know that her character's kind of like, you know, she's only on for like 5 minutes at most.
Oh, no, not that long.
I said at most. And... But still, you know, she's like, why aren't you doing any of the chores? And they're like, you know, and she's like, I gotta go. And they're like, hurry up, mom, you gotta go. And she's like, so like, maybe that was their way of like explaining that like she didn't like do a great job of explaining it to the kids or something. But I'm like, I feel like even so, it's like pretty standard if you're going to have someone watch your kids to like introduce them before day of, because because not just this old bitch who was a hag and pretty transphobic, if you ask me, not just the, you know, gay bashing homophobe and everything like that. Not just that, but like, can this person handle her crazy, outrageous kids? You know, like that's more of a question than like, can the kids get along with this person? It's like, can this person handle 5 kids that have never been told no before? Like, that's more of a, you know what I mean? And so that's where I'm like, I feel like that's the only thing that I'm like,
well, okay, apparently in the original script too, first of all, the babysitter was the whole, more happens before she croaks.
Yeah.
And they meant to, and like the scenes we get of like, dude, her just giving the dude homework.
Yeah.
And then trying to do conversion therapy on the girl, on the tomboy.
Yeah.
Like every one of the kids got something like that, which is meant to set it up so that it's like everyone has a motive for killing her.
Yeah.
Which is a little...
That's kind of funny, but I'm like, that's so over the top. Like, the youngest is like, I don't know, like 7. Did you kill her because she gave you homework? Like...
Yeah, I know. Anyway, she dies.
Yeah.
Natural causes.
I am so glad that they did not go into like I'm so because immediately I was like I fucking hate this bitch, and I know we're not supposed to like her, but I was like I really don't want to deal with like 45 minutes of this dumb bitch being in the way before we
100%.
get.
It's also not believable. I mean, like if you want to, no disrespects to Edda, what's her name, but who played Gold Strucott or whatever her name is.
You got it. No, you got it.
But she was convincing as a nice old lady, but not as a horrible monster to me.
Interesting.
So
I didn't find her convincing as either.
fair enough. Anyhow, she dies.
She die, she death.
The kids, in their wisdom, were like, well, what do? We can't call the cops. We'll be suspected of muck duck. So
No, the reason why they said that is because they said the cops will call mom and they'll make her come back.
Oh,
and
well,
we
yeah.
don't want to have to. We don't want to have to.
fair enough. We don't want to deal with having... This works out for us because we don't have to fuck with any adults. So
Yeah.
they put her in a trunk with a note and deliver her to the mortuary. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just leave the trunk on the doorstep with a note.
Yeah, that says nice old
Then-
lady died of natural causes.
Then they
Flip a pizza.
realize
Oh yeah. Oh
That-
yeah.
all the cash mom had left for the babysitter to take care of expenses
She just put it
was
in her
on her
pocket.
person.
Yeah.
And
Because
so,
like the mom gave her like an like a what is it, a
Manila.
vanilla envelope.
Yeah.
And
It's from the Philippines.
and she's like it's got like stuff in it and also all the money that you're gonna need for groceries for the whole summer and
It's your standard.
right and spending money for the kids.
Right.
So this bitch takes it all and puts it in her pocket, which I'm like that's psychotic to take $25,000 or whatever because these dumb kids can't stop eating and put it in your pocket.
Was this confusing to you as a child? Nilla wafers, manila envelopes, and vanilla. As a
Yes and
concept.
no. I knew that
Nilla wafers were the one that were... What? I said Nilla.
No, you're. I don't know.
Are the ones that really fucked it up for me.
Nilla wafers. I knew that they were. I knew what they were. Manila envelopes confused me because I'm like,
Also,
are
is that
you
just racist?
what?
To call them manila envelopes? Is that because they're yellow? And Manila is in the Philippines?
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah, I don't know. That's just their. Yeah, he's gonna do a goo goo.
Is this racist?
He's gonna do a goo goo.
I'm going to do a wiki.
I was gonna say, why do they call it manila envelopes? Paper makers faced with a cotton and linen rag shortage came up with the idea of recycling manila rope, previously used on ships as paper pulp. The resulting paper was strong, water resistant, flexible. Manila ropes are made from and named for manila hemp. So no. So Manila, I didn't really understand what it. I was like, are people saying vanilla wrong?
Right.
Vanilla and Nilla wafers, I knew that it was supposed to be. I thought people just said Nilla wafers. I was like, oh, because it's like it's vanilla wafers. But like I knew that that was the name. I knew that they were named for vanilla.
So I was like a nickname.
Yeah, I was like Nilla, Nilla wafers. But Manila envelopes. I didn't understand the Manila thing. I was like, Manila envelopes? Like, it wasn't really, I was like, are you saying vanilla wrong? Or is it supposed to be Manila? Or what, like, what is it? But, yeah. But, yeah.
Man, I love a piece of vanilla wafer right now.
Oh, God, fuck. You know what I love? You know what I absolutely love? Which is shocking because I hate banana. Banana cream.
Yep.
Oh, fuck. Like that with the vanilla wafers and the fucking pudding.
Yep.
And banana slices. Fuck me up with some of that shit, man. Oh, God. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh.
I got all those frozen bananas.
Ugh.
This dick.
What does that have to do with what I just said, though?
Your mother called. I got a call from your mom.
Your mother called, and I got a call from your mom. Who both happened at the same time.
He left 2 non-consecutive messages.
Keith had a dream that he was giving someone the
Business.
what, yeah. And he said,
So the way I was dominating this group of alpha males was that I was doing rhyming couplets, basically. And the one I can recall from the dream was... Also, these were just improvised. Got a call from your mom. She forgot the condom.
which is
Which was a death blow, by the way.
Yeah,
Then they were like, fuck it, we're out of here.
which is second only to my dream, where Keith was like, we were in like a waiting room or like the green room or something, and Keith was like entertaining everyone in the green room before we went on to perform on Saturday Night Live. This is a dream, just to remind you. And Keith was like, I got to go to the bathroom really quick. And on his way to the bathroom, and everyone's just like waiting because he's been like completely just like killing it the whole time. He says, he says 28 and 29. And everyone, including his BFF for life, Flota, lost his absolute shit. Everyone was like, oh my God. And he was just like, yeah, 28 and 29. And he like yelled it as he was leaving the room, like yelled it with a hand in the air, you know?
I love it because it's...
I love it because you would probably do something stupid
yeah,
like
it's
that.
not. It's really not. Except for the context.
except for us being on Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
It's completely accurate. I forget if I've told this on mic, but in my early 20s, probably like 20 years old.
Is this when you were the consonants and vowel thing?
That was a little earlier, believe it or not. No, I was visiting Ruth.
Uh-huh.
And so I was in like their world, you know, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I did by this time had met some of these people, but it was like not my home
Yeah.
turf. And somebody was having a party, and so we went to it, and then I just remember her being like, "Why? How does he do that?" Like, and it wasn't like. Well,
You mean Ruth was being like that?
yeah, about
yeah,
me
yeah.
after it happened, because all I said was sour mash whiskey, and it got a laugh. And she was just.
Yeah.
So that was a real confidence booster, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah. Yeah.
28
And 29. Literally, like, that's how you were like 28 and 29. And it was like the fucking, and the crowd goes wild. Like all 6 people in there, like, shit their pants laughing. And I think I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure you woke me up from this dream because you thought I was crying because I was laughing.
We're just like,
You're like, baby, are you okay?
anyway,
Which is what it sounds like.
hire me to entertain your dreams.
Yeah. So don't tell mom the babysitter's dead. So after
Then they
flip
flip a pizza to figure out which of the 2 older kids is going to
get a job.
enter the labor market.
And after Christina
Shout out
Applegate,
to Mama Celeste.
yeah, after she gets a job at the Clown Chuckle Hut or whatever, the Clown
Dog.
Dog, which
camper.
I feel is a pretty accurate depiction of what it's like to work in a place where it's like smile all the time and be happy and whatever. I was saying yesterday, like it made me think of it. It reminded me of when I worked at Victoria's Secret and this girl got sent home because the top she was wearing was black and white. You were only allowed to wear black at Victoria's Secret, and there was white in her shirt.
What?
So she had to go home and change her shirt. Mm-hmm. Yep. it was like black and white stripes. Like, here's the thing. She had black pants, that shirt on, and then she had like a black cardigan over it. And they were like, no, you're not wearing all black. You have to go home. And she was like, what the fuck? Everyone was like, it's not like, everyone was like, what the fuck? It's not like it's not like she's wearing hot pink or something. Like, it's black and white. Like, she assumed it would be
if you're
safe.
gonna be that strict, just provide fucking uniforms.
Oh no, I hate provided uniforms. I always hated provided uniforms because I have a very strange body shape.
I hate them. I don't want to wear them.
No, I know. I just mean like I would
if you
rather
care that much about unity of your employees looking the same.
Can I finish?
No.
I don't like uniforms because, especially back then, I was so tiny that they didn't make clothes small enough for me. So, like when I worked at the bank, I literally had I was wearing like the smallest clothes they had, and it looked like I was like borrowing like my older brother's clothes to wear. It would be like extra small, and I was like swimming in everything. Everyone was like, "Why didn't you get a smaller size?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, because I did. I got the smallest size apparently." It was horrible, and they were so ugly, and they always are the worst material. Mm-hmm. The thing about, I will say this about Victoria's Secret: you could fucking wear pretty much anything. It just had to be black. So I would I wore like yoga pants, and like I literally would go to sleep in my outfit because I would be determined to be that comfortable. So I would sleep in my outfit, and I'd just get up and I'd go to work. And I was like, that's fine. I don't mind. I was like, yeah,
it's the life.
Yeah. But yeah, it was like shit like that where you're like, it's not that. I mean, and everyone's like, it's not like it's going to distract the customer. They're not going to know she works here, like, but she got sent home. So like shit like that makes where he's like, you have to smile. Yeah. You have to make sure you're smiling.
My favorite part is that he does that shit after they're closed even.
Exactly. Right. Oh, yeah. I know I've said this before. Living
the lifestyle 24/7.
Because I know I've said this before because it was so jarring to me. I was like when I worked at Victoria's Secrets, I was there before like the store opened. We were like doing like I think it was one of the like holiday, like you had to rearrange the whole store. So every single employee was there from like 3 a.m. like to redo the entire store to like restock everything.
Perfect. Totally reasonable.
It could have been fun. Like if they'd brought like coffees for everyone and like snacks or something, it would have been a great experience. Like it could have been a lot of fun, but they didn't. And it was just like them telling us to be faster with everything while they sat and talked. And I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But one of them was like, we're all sorority girls here, right, Z? And I was like, what? I was like, no. They're like, no. I was like, who are you talking to? They're like, you didn't. I was like, a sorority? What the fuck are you? I'm like, I have a girlfriend and a dykey haircut. Like, look at me right now. Like, I'm openly gay to you. I'm like, why do you think I went to a sorority? They're like, literally surprised that I didn't go to a sorority. I'm like,
then how'd you get this job?
I know. I was like, you see that I have the lesbian haircut. Like, I had like the, long on top, short all around haircut, the one that says I've tasted pussy and I'm not going back.
Oh my God, we get it.
Just for the listeners, they might not understand. And I was just like, who are you talking to? I was like, I cut my hair myself. Like, I did this myself. Right. That should tell you, no, I've never gone to a sorority.
I work at Victoria.
It's like, what? They were literally like, speak up, talk about your sorority. I was like, what the fuck are you? No,
yeah, that's pretty wild.
I mean, I didn't even go to college. They're like, what? I'm like, who? I was like, is there another Z that works here? Because who could you possibly be talking about? So I was like, in that moment though, I was like, is this something where like, this is a level of sarcasm like I'm not understanding? Because I feel like I'm giving you opportunities to explain yourself and you're doubling down. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, if this is a joke, it can't be funny to anyone.
Right.
Because no one's laughing. I mean, if they were laughing at me, I'd be like, oh, I get it. That's funny. But like,
right.
Nothing like that's happened. It was so confusing. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, I'm going to read this trivia. I'm going to read this. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so you'll just have to deal with that. Okay. Production nearly stopped towards the end of shooting when Christopher Petit's drug addiction was getting out of control. The producers cut a few of his scenes to keep the film on schedule. That was one of the kids in the movie. That was not like a dude, like a 25-year-old playing a 16-year-old. He was literally like 14 at the time or whatever. And his drug addiction was so bad that it almost stopped the film. Like that, and he died like in 2000 from
At
a
24.
drug overdose. I'm like, oh my God. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Like, that's so fucking sad. Did you see that it was originally written for Winona Ryder?
Yeah. I don't know about written for, but
Well, that's what it says.
I also saw Jennifer
Oh,
Love.
with her in mind, but yeah.
Jennifer Love Hewitt was gonna.
Oh, she was going to play Melissa.
Melissa.
Yeah.
And
That makes sense because I'm like, those two were similar. Filmed during the summer of 1990. Does anyone give a shit? Okay.
also, according to Keith Coogan, like the house was intensely hot,
Oh, I bet. God.
and like I think you said this. It's the scene when. No, when is it? I don't know. Some scene when Swell is like trying to pick outfits or something. Mm-hmm. He was like, it had to be at least 110 in that room.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I believe it. That shit looked so muggy. Like, it even looked gross. Like, that house, whenever they showed, like, it being, like, fucking, like, the messy, whenever they showed how messy it was, I was like, oh, God, can someone please fucking clean this house? Like, ugh. It was kind of sad that it didn't get anything until the very end when she was like, okay, everyone, we're going to clean up so I can pay this back. Okay, I'm going to read this trivia. Although the film is said to take place in the summer of 1990, all the dates listed and calendars shown in the film correspond to dates in 1989. Additionally, the kids mention watching Super Password, which was canceled in 1989, and then in parentheses, though of course they could be watching reruns.
Gotcha.
Thank you, IMDb Trivia. Thank you. Oh, there's one. I have to find it. It's so stupid. It's stupid.
Anyway, we didn't talk about how. Oh yeah, she works at Clown Dog. She gets fired or she quit,
She quits.
and then she's gonna try out for. She was like, "Oh, here's an admin assistant job at a design place."
Yeah.
She walks in there, and then through some.
So wait, what she does is, because she's working at the, like, she's never really had a job before, so she doesn't really
Right.
have a resume. So what she does is
right.
she just copies basically everything from like this book on how to write a good resume. She, like, her brother's like, what did you do? Copy it? And she's like, no, I changed the name, which I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. So she, like, you know, copies everything, and she goes in there because she wants to apply for a resume or
Receptionist?
receptionist, thank you, for a receptionist job. And the receptionist job is, like, the receptionist is played by Jane Brooke, my future, I don't know, fuck.
Once you turn 40.
Yeah, once I turn 40, my future girlfriend. A year and a half to go before I can legally ask her out.
That's the
yeah.
contract we signed.
Yeah. She's playing the receptionist and she's being such a bitch.
You are supposed to go down to personnel. That is on the first floor. There is a great big sign that says personnel. Do you understand.
Yeah.
And she does, like, she gets called, or I don't know, she gets called away from her desk or something. And
Joanna Cassidy.
I was going to say that, but I was like, I know that's wrong. So, oops. Joanna Cassidy somehow, like, sees her.
Well, she comes out and she's like, where the fuck is...
Yeah.
What's her name?
Oh, yeah. And Christina Applegate's like, that bitch that's a bitch. And she says,
Where's Carolyn? Mouse brown hair gives you a headache?
Talks like she's chewing her face.
That's her.
She'll be back in a few seconds. I'm here for the receptionist job.
Is this your resume?
Yeah.
Wow. Very impressive. This is fabulous.
and she's like, oh, yeah, she says something.
Well, it turns out that they're hiring to fill her job because
Yeah,
she's
because
supposed
she's
to become
up.
Rose's assistant.
Yeah,
And Rose is like, fuck
I fucking
her.
hate her. And she's like, let me see your resume. And then she's like, okay, you're hired. And so she's, you know, her like admin assistant or whatever. And so Christina Applegate thinks that she's getting a job at like in the fashion industry. And then she finds out she's getting.
That was a good reveal,
I
actually.
did like that.
That
yeah.
It's a while. It's pretty late before that.
Yeah,
comes
she's
up.
like, she like takes her to the factory where they're making all their clothes and shit, and it's all just like shitty ass uniforms and ugly ass uniforms. And she's like, oh, I thought we were like high fashion. She's like, haha, no. She's like, no, this is what we make. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because it's like you don't think of it as like it makes sense that there would be like a company that like
Right.
manufactures uniforms and like makes a lot of money manufacturing uniforms.
Well, and it's also like a very glossy kind of studio, and everybody's very fashionable that works there.
Yes.
Studio, I mean office.
Yeah.
Fucking Duchovny coming in with his rayon shirts and...
And, oh my God.
I'm Bruce. I'm head inventory clerk. Why?
Well, Bruce, I'm an executive level administrative assistant. And when I get those figures ready, I'll give you a buzz and you can run on up here and fetch them, all right?
Yeah, sure.
Every time Duchovny comes up, Keith has this expression. I think one of his profile pictures, if you are friends with him on Facebook, is of him doing this. And his whole face is frowning, including his mouth, but somehow he manages to make it smile at the same time. Like he's frowning upside down just a little. I don't know how he's able to do it, but he masters it beautifully, and that's his Duchovny. So every time I mention Duchovny, I look over at him and he's doing that face. And yeah. Anyway, Duchovny looks the same. Jane Brooke only got hotter, and she's playing a bitch in this movie.
So baby in this.
She's so baby, and she's playing such a bitch, and she's got that little overbite, and her S's sound like this, and I'm like, oh, Jane Brooke. Yesterday, you said that the Keith Coogan or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Referred to Jane Brooke as Jane Lynch. And I wanted to make this joke, but I fumbled it yesterday, so I'm going to do it right today. I want to climb Jane Lynch like a tree. I want Jane Brooke to climb at me like a tree. That's the difference between the two of them.
Oh, I see. She's not that small.
She doesn't have to be. It's just like Jane Lynch is so tall. Oh, I want uppies so bad. She's so tall. Have you ever been picked up by a woman? That shit's so fucking hot. Sorry, Keith. Oh, man. Yeah.
You know, we all have to compromise.
It was worth not shitting for almost a week to get picked up by that hot lesbian.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. All right, I don't need any more detail.
I want to read this trivia.
Okay.
Pivot a little. Mrs. Sturak mentions that her family is all gone, and it's obvious that she is a widow. Etta Rice Marin, who played Mrs. Sturak, was a widow in real life.
Gunk, gunk.
It's called method acting. She killed her husband so that she could better play.
Yeah.
I don't. God, IMDb trivia is absolutely fucking stupid. I don't understand it. It's like, by the way,
I
these
love that they claim
people-
it's vetted.
I know. By the way, these people that played in this film are actors, and it's like 200 upvotes. I'm like, what the fuck? Upvotes. I'm on Reddit too much, clearly. But it's like, is this helpful or not helpful? The fucking trivia about the dude dying or the dude being a drug addict or whatever. It's like 200 and something upvote, like
Just 'cause
thumbs
it's
up,
first.
and two down. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe it's not helpful, but you don't have to.
This is how I feel
You
about
don't have
people
to
who
boo.
thumbs down Pornhub videos.
Oh my god.
I don't. Not that I spend a lot of time on Pornhub, but it's
What
just a
is
thing
Pornhub?
I've noticed.
What's Pornhub again?
Well, if you go to the ztitpics.co.uk, it's at the bottom of the link tree.
Oh my god. I wish that I had the money to get that. I would fucking buy that domain so fast. Z.titpics. Like,
Well, and I should say, since it's .co.uk, it would be pronounced Z-titpics. This is Speak the King's English.
King James. English. Full circle, baby.
Oh, so many circles being fulled. I don't know. Yeah. So one of the things that happens is that the guy who dates Rose.
Is Jane Brooks' little brother?
No.
No, you're right.
I'm talking about,
I was talking about Swell.
yeah. So her boss, Rose, played by Joanna Cassidy.
Yes. Swell's boss, Rose.
Yeah. Starts hitting on her on Swell.
Oh, the boyfriend of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I just said Swell's boss, Rose, and then you said starts hitting on her. So I just.
Sorry.
I just wanted to make sure that it was.
Thank you. And he does it in a very, I mean, the guy who plays it, I think it's John Getz, does a very good job of being that kind of slime ball. And like, I like that he makes it a caricature because
Yeah.
it makes it a little less, I mean, it's convincing, but it's also clearly a caricature. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
of
yeah,
that
yeah,
type
yeah.
of guy.
Yes.
He's like, hey, we could, post-coital bliss, if you know what I mean. Unless you don't want to, and then I'm just joking.
Yeah. I
kind of
think,
shit.
Yeah, you said this to me and yesterday, and I thought it was. You said that they do a really good job of like showing him being gross, but also like there's no sort of like he doesn't physically touch Swell. He
Right.
doesn't ever break any physical bound. Like he'll like move close to her, but he doesn't ever put his hands on her. He's never like trying to kiss her or like going in. He's not grabbing her ass, which is a lot of times how they would portray guys like that in movies.
And
So
there
like
are,
they
of
didn't
course,
do
people like that.
correct. And they didn't do any of that. And she's very, like you said, like she's very clear with her like bound. She's like, I'm not interested in you.
Yeah.
Like you know, like you shouldn't do this. Like I don't want anything.
Yeah, and she's not.
Mm-hmm.
and the interesting thing, and to its credit, because you don't see this, like he doesn't really have any power over her.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he can't fuck with her job
Right.
necessarily because the thing is he's like, sure, he and Rose aren't exclusive or whatever, but like it's not like he's gonna get her fired,
Right.
And he's not like leveraging any kind of power that way.
Yeah. And
Which takes some of the threat out of it, you know, compared to.
yeah. I don't know where it's going. So I don't know how to make it not go there. Go ahead. You're good. Keep going.
Anyway,
Yeah, I
more
also
to the point. Yeah, I thought
Yeah.
it was very impressive that she's very clear with
Yeah.
the boundaries, and it's not. She never like hedges really,
Yeah.
you know, or she doesn't. She never seems to feel like.
and confronted, like Rose walks in on it at
Yeah.
the end, towards the end, and she's like, yeah, by the way, he's hitting on me and all this
Right.
shit he's doing, and she's like, oh my God. But I also like when it's revealed that Swell is like only 17, he's like, oh, see, she's just a kid. Are you going to believe some kid or are you going to believe me? And she's like, I'm going to believe a kid. And I like that because it's like, it's not being like, one, it didn't make her, like, they didn't have her say something like, that kid is more of a woman than, they didn't say anything. Right. Yeah. Or they didn't like say anything like dismissing that she's actually just a kid. Like to say like, no, she's a kid, but I still believe her. Like that doesn't like her being a kid doesn't really invalidate any of the things she said. I like that they didn't have to like take away her innocence or like her being young in order for her to be believed. And I do kind of like the fact that, so like Swell like basically like lies to get the job, obviously, because she has a fake resume. But like once she's there, she's actually doing work. She's just overwhelmed and doesn't know what to do. And like she asks someone else for help. Someone else offers to help her and she says, yeah, that would be great. And so this other person is helping her with her work. And like they try to like Jane Brooks' character tries to like get her found out about that. And the boss is like, oh my God. She was like, truthfully, like, I didn't think you'd be able to do all the things I was asking you to do. So you being able to delegate that so that everything got done is really impressive. And then Jane Brooks like pissed off, about it. But I'm like, that's almost accurate because like people don't actually care how you get something done.
No, absolutely.
They really don't. And like asking for help, if it's not taking someone else away from their job, they really don't care how you get something done. And this coming from someone who worked in a corporate job, if you can find a simpler way to do something, if you can find an easier way to do something, they will like bend over backwards to implement it. Like they don't give a shit. If it's going to save time for them, that means saving money. So they would rather you do that. They don't give a shit. They don't give like it's truly something that like delegation is honestly something that is expected in those kinds of roles, which you think is sort of a
you think
it sounds too good to be true, but it's honestly like if you're able to, that's what management is essentially is just delegation. And so being able to do that is a sign of, whatever, smarts. And so, but like, I like the fact that like when that happens, they're like, oh, great job delegating. And then, even when like they find out that she's a kid, they're like, oh yeah, like it's not that, like all these things, they get found out.
Right.
And then they're just like, oh, okay. Well, that makes sense why you have.
Yeah, Rose has her back no matter what.
Yeah,
which
pretty
you can
much,
say is a little unrealistic.
Absolutely.
Which is fine, but it's also nice to see in a way.
Yes. Yeah, there's no cattiness. There's no, like, other than Jane Brooks' character, which isn't pitted as being as being hateful to another woman. It's her being jealous that she got the job over her.
Right.
So that's something that's like really interesting because there's not.
Well, she is shady to Swell when she first walks in.
Correct, but she said, but it's like, but she does say.
All I mean is that's the evidence we get that she's just an asshole.
Right. Well, yeah, and I'm not saying that you're wrong about that. I'm saying that she says, she doesn't say it. She says everybody who's applied for this job, like every idiot that's applying for this job is coming here instead of going to personnel.
Right.
But it's not gendered. Mm-hmm. So it's like, which, I mean, I'm sure
true.
There were no
and it's
male,
not like,
I'm sure there were like no male receptionists back then, or very few if there were any. But like, it's one of those things where you can, she's just pissed that no one's going where they're supposed to, despite the fact that no one was told to do that. So, but that wasn't meant as like an argument against what you're saying. I agree that that's her being shown as a shitty, but that also shows that she's just being shitty to someone.
Right.
Like there's no, there doesn't really have to be a reason. She's just shown as being kind of an asshole of a character. But I like that. I like that she wasn't like nice to her and then got jealous, and same thing with Rose. Like she doesn't, like even though Christina Applegate is like a 17 and trying to manage like having a corporate job and getting hit on by her boss's like boyfriend, she's trying to like how do you feel? You know, she's like asking her questions and she's like, well, we're not exclusive, you know, of course. And like she's saying, she's admitting all of this stuff and telling her all this stuff. So like, it's not something where you get a definitive, like if I was in that situation, I would be like, well, then I really don't know what to do because he's not lying by saying they're not exclusive.
Yeah, right.
So I don't really know. I mean, I don't think she's like, I want to date him or anything, but she's like, I don't know how to, you know, telling her this might not make a difference, you know, just like, it's just an interesting thing that there's no like actual cattiness between them.
Yeah.
Between any of the girls. And it's, I don't know.
No,
I appreciate that. Especially for it being an 80s movie. And another thing I thought of this yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to say it before I realized we hadn't recorded anything. There's, unless I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry, but there's not any, is there any like random Asian like bashing?
I don't think so.
There's the one scene with the drag queens.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind it because they're the old lady's car, which is what they're driving around. The old lady's car, they're like out to eat at night.
Oh, that's right. They go to Chuck E. Cheese.
And
come out, and then the car is getting stolen by three drag queens.
But that's it. Like there's no like joke about them. It's just like Liza Minnelli just took our car.
And that's the only joke. They're like, Liza?
Yeah, like that's it. And I was like,
Liza, Marilyn Monroe, and I don't know who the third was.
Was it Dolly Parton?
I couldn't tell.
So yeah, but I was like, oh my god, that's almost impressive that they're not. Yeah. I mean, they did do one weird transphobic thing at the end, and I can't remember what it was. Where they're like, at least she's not a dude or something.
Oh yeah,
I don't know. I don't remember how.
And you were like, I knew this was gonna.
Yeah, I was about to say. Like, at least she's not like.
What are you also secretly a guy?
Yeah. But yeah, I liked that they didn't like. There was no like, because they said, "Oh, you could call the cops." Like when the car gets stolen, like someone's like, "Oh, should we call the cops?" And she's like, and tell them that the car that isn't ours got stolen by Liza Minnelli. She was like, we can't. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I think that's an interesting thing because it's showing that like that would be a dilemma where it's like if you're using someone else's car that doesn't belong to you and then like someone stole it, you can't be like, oh, or they were dressed like they were a drag queen. You can't like actually give a description of someone. You're like, well, they were a drag queen dressed like Dolly Parton. You know, someone's going to be like, oh my God, that's not something we can put. Like, we can make a report, but no one's going to be able to be like, oh, yes, that one, you know? Like, so.
Anytime something like this happens, I think of how I learned that for the Goonies, there had originally been this thread where some gorillas had escaped the zoo and stole a convertible and were just driving around the town, and they would just come in and out. And they got cut. Like, I think they actually shot.
Oh, yeah. So, you told me that, and I love
to bring it up because I'm like, and then I just want these drag queens to show up in the background driving around, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that would be good. But that's...
Not to compare drag queens with...
gorillas in the mist.
Great apes, but...
Yeah. Yeah. What do you recommend?
Sure.
Yeah. I think it holds up. I mean, this is one of the trivia says that it
for its time
for what it's doing, it doesn't.
It avoids a lot of.
Also, what I like is that she has like Jane Brooks' character's little brother who she's like dating and doesn't realize that.
As well as dating.
Yeah, that.
Jane Brooks is not dating her brother.
I don't know.
Who she met when working at Clown Dog.
Yeah. She's still she sees him and they go on like dates together and they're like youthful and fun and they like each other. And I like that it's not something where she's like, I'm a grown up now, so I need to, you know, like she doesn't, she comes home from that job where she's pretending to be like an older person, and then she goes on fun dates with her boyfriend who's also a teenager or whatever. And I enjoyed that. I was like, oh, I like the fact that they let her actually still be a kid. And how it ends is basically she gets offered a job and she's like, I'm actually going to try like being my age.
Yeah, that too.
Instead.
When she's like,
yeah.
When the crisis happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I forget the literary term for, they're having the party where they're, and then she's like, oh, actually, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm
she's
in
like,
way
you
over
know
my
what?
head.
Never mind. Yeah.
I can't handle this anymore. I applied for a receptionist job. I don't even know what an executive administrative assistant does. I lied to everyone about everything, and I'm sorry.
Also, I do like the fact that she was like, I'm sorry I ruined everything. She says like to Rose, she's like, I'm sorry I ruined the whole thing for you. And she's like, they didn't give a shit. She was like, they just saw what was profitable. And they were like, they don't care that you're 17. They don't give a shit how old you are. They were like, she said they commended me on hiring a teenager to get like.
For like market perspective or
to get market perspective.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Here's the part that's left out about that is that she would be the one that got all the credit for it. Like Rose would.
Yeah.
I mean.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Not swell. Even if she did keep the job, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Well, that's how I thought. That's how I thought it was presenting. Because she was like,
I mean, I just felt like, oh yeah, people are going to be taking credit for this thing that had nothing to do with it. Also,
yeah, that's fair.
Like the boyfriend or Duchovny.
Yeah. Right.
The same people who were trying to get her fired or whatever.
Right. I did also like how she acts like she took all the petty cash because she didn't have money for food, and it created a dilemma because she was like, if I get found out, then because it was like the whole point was just to get a job for long enough that she could get food.
Feed them for the summer.
So when she realized that like she wasn't going to get paid, she took petty cash and she was like, I'll just pay it back. And then all the petty cash that she took, her siblings took it and spent it and bought like an entertainment center. Oh my God, I love the entertainment center because it is
hilarious.
It's like 17 different like pieces of equipment and the smallest television you've ever fucking seen in your life.
And some of it has to be redundant. It just looks like there's two whole stereo systems.
It looks like there's like 5 stereo
and
systems.
there's a whole shelf that's just blank.
Yes.
Video cassettes.
Yes. Oh. It's so fucking funny. But so
we can't give it back. It was on sale.
But I like how, you think that they're gonna catch her, and because the company walks in on her saying that she's out of petty cash or whatever, and so he and Jane Brooke like break in or whatever and like open the petty cash box to see
receipts.
To see that there's no petty cash so they can turn her in. But when they open it, she has all these IOUs, which is what Rose said to do when she spends, was to just mark it down. And she was like, you could spend it for anything. It doesn't really matter. She was like, just like mark down what you spent it for. So she she had all this shit that she took, or she had all this money that she took that the kids ended up spending on shit. And then because she sets up her house and she does everything at the house, she just puts a bunch of IOUs for all the things that they're doing essentially for free to pay it back. So it's like,
oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
I didn't catch that.
Well, because it's like ice sculpture, but she had but one of his friends is the one. Right. So like all these things that she ended up, doing essentially for free. She was doing that to pay back the petty cash. So having it at her house, having all these catering things, having all these people do all this stuff was a way for her to pay it back without having to go in the hole.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I like that because it's showing that like she did use petty cash for what it was supposed to be used for, but like sort of, she's not going to get in trouble for that. Like everything that she did that was against the rules, she didn't really get in trouble for because she didn't, like she found a way to correct whatever mistake that was made. So I liked that. I liked that I don't know. I thought it was a smart thing.
Yeah, I didn't actually put that together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is.
And
yeah, it's just using all her friends.
right. Yeah. She got like, for paying for catering. Her brother's the one that did it.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff that they would have to pay for. She ended up essentially figuring out, like renting a place. Like she had her house,
Right.
it's like all these things that they would need to pay for. She ended up doing and putting an IOU in there so that she was paying back the petty cash.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Right. I liked that.
There's too many children because
Agree.
they don't really get
Yeah.
much to do.
Yeah.
Regardless of dudes' drug issues, you still don't see much of the other kids either.
Yeah.
It's too bad. I would have loved more of the tomboy character.
I
'cause
know.
She's a great character.
You said that there was because they have a swimming pool.
Yeah, at the end for the party.
There's like a
But
swimming
apparently
pool.
there was a scene cut where they're like, the kids are in the backyard and they're like, what the fuck is that? And then the tomboy character puts on scuba
Well,
gear.
they see something that's like a
yeah, like I
Yeah.
don't know, yeah, like that appears to be like a swamp or something.
Yeah.
she puts on scuba gear and then dives and then she comes up and is like, "Oh, it's all good. It's our pool."
I was like, that would have been so funny.
Yeah, because I remember when watching it, I was like, "Oh, they have a pool."
Yeah, I said, okay, I guess they have a pool. What the fuck? And you were like, yeah, I don't know.
But I also found the Kenny character to just be intolerable. I did not care,
Yeah.
and it's an inconsistent character, and I don't believe his arc towards.
I've suddenly decided to stop smoking weed and care about everything.
I mean,
and I do
No,
sort of.
I mean, I think, and this is why it's frustrating, is like, okay, like his brother fell off the roof, and it's kind of his fault,
Yeah.
and that would,
Yeah.
shock him into
Yeah.
being like, oh, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
That makes sense, but not for that character in that moment. This feels too sudden.
Yeah. I think it would have been more interesting if he had.
It's also not explained
Right.
why he watches one Julia Child video and then
Obsessed with it, yeah.
Starts making
this is the thing.
waffles.
I think if he started watching Julia Child and then he started making like this insane food because he was stoned
yeah.
and wanted, that would be a funny arc, and that because that's
they
kind of
tried-
how
they
they kind of
kinda
start out that
imply
way.
that
But it's
with
not until he stops smoking weed that he gets better at it. And I'm like, come on, let's not
Yeah.
do that. Like, his ass would be like on that shit. Afterwards he
Listen,
would
if
have.
you've ever been in a professional kitchen, you know it is the most sober place. on earth.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah, not bad. I give it 30 Martin Donovans
Wow. Out
of 30 Martin Donovans. I mean,
oh, wow.
well, he gives 30. He says make it 30. So it's
Okay.
it's 30. It's
Okay,
always
so
going
you
to be.
give 30 Martin Donovan in his Sizzler commercials.
Yes. No, I give it.
Martin Donovan's in a
I give
Sizzler
it.
commercial.
I give it one Martin Donovan in a Sizzler commercial, which is 30 Martin Donovans because he's 30, right? He said make it 30, so that's one Martin Donovan, right? I make sense. I give it 30 Martin Donovan, and I give it 10 out of 10 Jane Brooke. So
So perfect film.
no. But those two things are, even though Martin Donovan was not in this. I'll say he's never probably seen this film. Maybe I'm wrong about
He's
that.
definitely seen it.
Martin Donovan, if you're out there listening to this right now,
This
please
is the most important thing. We don't want to
call.
talk to you
My
about
phone
anything
number
else.
is
1-800-333-0000. Fighting for you is our job.
Hablamos español.
That's not a real phone number.
and you can call that and you can tell me that whether or not you've seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and I will listen intently. And if you hear a faint
He
buzzing
watched it
noise,
when he was playing that FBI agent surveilling Malcolm X. Martin.
if you hear a faint buzzing sound while you're telling me the story of if you've seen Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, it is just feedback from my vibrator that I will be using at the sound of your voice. Please bleep out
I get it.
my number, because that's actually
No.
my phone number. Call me Martin Donovan.
Okay, Martin Donovan. Good night, Greasy.
Good night, Greasy.
8
Look.
18.
23.
Want a bet?
Sure, make it 30.
Sizzler is serving all-you-can-eat golden fried shrimp. With a juicy sirloin steak, it's a really big meal at a shrimp of a price. Now, how many crunchy fried shrimp can you eat?
At the steak,
Seafood.
salad,
Sizzler.